Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome to Enlightened World Network and the Soul Food Book Club. I'm Terry Angel, and I'm here with a beautiful group, our family that comes together every Wednesday to discuss spiritual matters, and especially if we are reading one of the books that lead us in that direction, then we all get immersed in that energy. I want to welcome Auntie Jean.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Linda Lemieux.
Glad to be here.
Aunt Mary Lou.
Happy New Year.
Charlie Coons.
Hello, everyone.
Grace Isis.
Hello everybody.
And our Christina just jumped in here. Hello, darling.
Hello everyone.
Hello, darling.
I'm so glad that you're with us, and all of you are with us today. So those that have the actual physical book, can you raise it up so we can see it? Loving What is the title of this book. The author, I can't see it, Charlie.
Byron Katie.
Byron Katie. Sorry, my mind is a little fuzzy right now, but thank you for holding that up. And this is the book we've been discussing for a couple of weeks, and hopefully many of us have gotten further along. I have to give full disclosure that my life is a whirlwind right now, so I'm going to depend on you all to do most of the discussion today. And welcome to Jean Molinsky, our Blue Jean in Vermont. Thank you for being with us. And Julie Kiss. Oh, thank you all for jumping in here. So who would like to open up the discussion today? And it's 111, by the way.
I will.
Okay.
I'm kind of happy that I took Auntie Jean's advice and I printed out some of the worksheets. This one has the questions that help us to ask ourselves when we're going through a situation that we want to resolve. And I found that in reading the book so far that I said initially that she wants us to be happy. And I think now I've learned that she wants us to be accountable for our own happiness. Mm-hmm. And she's given us techniques and methods to do that, and some of the stories that I read, I didn't really relate to them. And then others spoke to me, and it helped me understand the purpose behind the questions, because I wasn't sure about, the questions, because, is it true? Can you absolutely know? How do you react? And, and I was a little bit suspicious of those questions, because my initial response was, well, today I might answer this way, but tomorrow I might answer that way. And because I think I'm that kind of a person, that sometimes if I'm in the midst of a circumstance that is not pleasant or negative in any way, I do kind of go introspective, and I do question in a natural way. Maybe because of my age, I've learned over the years to do that and not be immediately responsive to a circumstance, to let it sit with me and sleep on it overnight, but I see a value in what she's saying, because I love the way that she leads up to having us take that responsibility, turn it around. If you're saying you feel a certain way about something, is it your reality only, or is it the reality of both people involved, or you and the world circumstance involved? And I think I kind of naturally do that, but then I need to be reminded that where's my responsibility in it, and how does that, and then how do I respond to within myself, especially to the circumstances. So I see good value in this book. Yeah, glad I'm reading it.
I'm just going to read one part here. It's on page 293 or whatever. it made a lot of sense or whatever. Notice if you move into a story before letting yourself fully experience the answer, the feelings that come with it. If your answers begin, well, yes, but you're shifting away from the inquiry. And do you really want to know the truth? Another possibility is that you're inquiring with a motive. Are you asking the questions to prove that the answer you already have is valid, even though it's painful? Do you want to be right more than you want to know the truth? It's the truth that sets you free. Acceptance, peace, and less attachments to the world of suffering are all effects of doing the work. They're not goals. Do the work for the love of freedom, for the love of truth. If you were inquiring with other motives such as healing the body or solving a problem, your answers may be arising from old motives that never worked for you. You'll miss the wonder and the grace of the inquiry. So it's you doing it for the freedom and the truth, not that to be right, you know. It's a lot to be. People don't realize how many all day long they're just thoughts they're thinking, and is it really true? It was so funny this week. Erica was messaging me different things, and I turned them right around, and she just said, "Stop, stop, stop." So it was kind of ironic that, but yeah, if you do the work, and it's pretty powerful. I really like the book. Yeah.
I would like to add to those statements. As far as myself, sometimes it's comfortable to be where you are than to change. And I wanted to say to Mary Lou's comment, I read chapter 7, Would You Rather Be Right or Free? Which really kind of talks to both of you. It's doing the work on self-judgment. And it says we have our own recordings, what we are and what we are not. But once investigated, these self-judgments can melt away. So an example would be, he should love me. And you need to change it to, I should love me. And then I should love myself. So she does another one of, I'm a failure. And she goes into the 4 steps. Is it true? And it says, make a list of how you react and how you feel physically and how you treat yourself when you hear these things. And what would the experience of your life be like if you never had that thought? So picture of how you could live without that thought, and change it to, I am a success. The part I liked was make a list of ways you are a success. You know, instead of saying, I wish I was a success, you have to do some things already that you are a success. So to start, that's kind of like your gratitude thing, Terry, as far as list 3 things you're grateful for every day if you're feeling not grateful. So this is the same thing. Find 3 successes every day, and it changes your focus on your thinking. So, and it says, without the thought, I am a failure, it says, are you perfectly fine? Aren't you still okay? Which ties into it's hard for me to change, but it turns in, it kind of cements everything. So I was trying to tie in different people and what they said. But yeah, it's a lot easier to be free than to be stuck in the mud. Once you realize you're stuck in the mud, you have to look at yourself honestly, which is not always the first part we choose. So, and also one of the things was, what do you turn to when you think you're a failure? Well, personally, I turn to food, which is an excuse to keep eating the wrong things. So if I face some of these things and deal with them, and I need to write things down. So if I could work through all these things, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. Maybe it's actually good.
You know what I remembered as you were speaking, Linda, you were talking about when you think about yourself as a failure and then focus on what your successes are. One thing that I learned that is really helpful if we're feeling lack or we're feeling like we don't have any direction or things that we want to accomplish, but we haven't accomplished them. It's called the reverse bucket list. And you can look back over the things that you have done. What are some of the experiences that were really impactful in your life? And look at what you've already done and come through and experienced. When we're thinking about bucket lists, we think of things that are kind of out of the reach at the moment, but someday we'll get to them. This turns it around to, okay, what have I done? Where have I been? What have I experienced? So that was that same thought I had when you were talking about, instead of looking at yourself as a failure, look at the successes in your life and start listing them. Start saying, oh my gosh, I did this and that. And there was this time when I stepped out of my comfort zone and I did that. So I love that it's taking us in that direction of thought with this book, that, we can focus on something other than being a failure or, not having things that we want. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I think some of us are sitting here thinking, I would never tell myself I'm a failure. I'm a good person. But it's like I have thoughts of, well, that diet failed. Well, I failed because I didn't stay on the diet, But, turn it around to what have I accomplished? So there's little ways I think that we all do that without realizing it. And if you don't, good for you.
I think I agree with all of you. And I think you're right, Linda, that sometimes we set expectations for ourselves. And if we don't reach them, then we feel like we're a failure. But I think what she's trying to do, and you're all right, but I see that she is trying to free us. And what she's trying to free us from is our own thoughts.
Right.
I'm sorry, Charlie, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I feel like she's trying to make us realize by the work is that so much of our sadness and happiness is because of our own thoughts. It's like you said, it's not reality. We are creating for ourselves the misery that we want to be free from. And she's trying to show us that you're already free from it. You just have to free yourself from having these thoughts, and even, I don't, this last one, I'm on about chapter 12, and the person she was giving us an example of is a girl who has a heart problem. And the heart problem is like ruining her life because all her relatives have died of heart problems. And so she lives in a constant state of fear that she's going to die from, her heart. And so she keeps herself from doing certain things because she's afraid it'll bring on a heart attack. And what she was trying to show her, which is, I can see where it would be a little hard, is that she's the one, her thoughts are the things that are keeping her from having a full life. It isn't her heart. She says, let your heart go. It's your doctor's responsibility. He's going to take care of that. You live your life, you know? And I think that's what she's trying to do is free us from these thoughts that confine us to modify our behavior in some way when it's not a reality. We're overthinking it over, whatever Charlie was saying. We're over, you know, we have to get out of that mindset of we're creating our drama, is what I guess I'm trying to say. When the drama isn't there, it isn't true. We're making it a drama.
Yeah.
So
The quote in front of chapter 12 is, everything happens for me, not to me.
to me.
I just wrote that, Charlie.
Hey.
As soon as said I was right there, and I'm, you know,
Yeah.
and we met last week, right? But I don't think we went online or whatever. But I thought, like we did with one of the books, I think we did it with Michael McConaughey's book. We took a quote and we each, you know, see which quote resonates with you, you know, through the 12 or 13 chapters, whatever there are. And next week we'll each, you know, give our quote, and just, you know, if you all want to do that, you know.
I think that's why I'm so drawn to what my comment is, because if you remember my bumper sticker, it was a bumper sticker we were making.
Right, we did
Right.
bumper
Quote.
stickers.
And mine was, don't make drama. It'll find you soon enough. Because that's the kind of person I was. Is everything was dramatic to me. Everything, you know, it's like the whole world depends on me. And it's not true. It's not true. You know, so she's trying to get us out of that so that we'll be free to live, to enjoy life, to love, to, you know, anyway, that's the way I feel about it. And I'm glad, you know, I would recommend people buy the book because those quotes are not in my book, in my Kindle. I don't see them. Have you seen them? Terry?
They're in there.
I'm looking now. That's why I got up, was to get my
They-
Kindle.
Charlie pointed out, I think, Jean, last time that they're like at the beginning of the chapters.
I know.
Because
See,
I
They're
started
right on the
looking,
other
you
side
know.
of the page.
Yeah.
They're in
See,
the
I've
they're
got
in the
what
in
I've
the
got
Kindle,
is
they're
the
in the bold
audio,
print.
and I don't remember anyone.
Oh, audio. Oh,
quotes.
yeah.
Yeah,
for
they're
it.
not in the,
Now,
they're not in the
they-
Kindle, you guys.
They're not in the Kindle. So
They're like
get
they're all in the
guys
bold.
got
I have the
cheated.
Kindle, but they're bold print.
Yeah,
You
they're
have the
not on
Kindle?
mine.
and they're there.
They're it's the bold print.
Oh, it's
Or
okay. Well,
that's-
see,
that's
but
the
I've
one
got
that
the
I found.
audio, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Somebody'd have to read them, and they haven't done that. I haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine doesn't have it, Mary Lou. You must have a special book.
I don't know. Mine, you know, I just noticed that it's in bold print.
Yeah.
You
it
know, and
does-
some of the quotes that I've written down are not in bold. They're just part of the story that it seemed meaningful to me.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
she's got a lot of words of wisdom, you know, that like another thing I wrote is no one can hurt me. That's my job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that
Yeah,
one.
You know,
That's
and
exactly true.
that's
you know,
one of
That's
them
what
too.
she's saying.
yeah.
We're hurting ourselves by our thinking.
Yeah.
You know?
And I loved the one that said it was the story of the man that was in Germany and how he was affected by the war with the situation with the child and all. And she, in that chapter, she said, fear teaches fear, peace teaches peace. Only one person can end internal war, and that's you.
Mhm.
You know, and we've got to own it. We've got to take responsibility, you know, and I loved, Linda, how you talked about, you know, having our thoughts, you know, and she's got a worksheet on question number 3. How do you react when, what happens when you believe that thought? And she's got a list of emotions of angry, depressed, confused, helpless, indifferent, afraid, hurt, sad, or judgmental, and a whole sheet of
Mhm.
words that go along with all of those emotions.
Mhm.
It's hard to think that we're made up of the potential of all of that, all of those, spiteful, jealous, offensive, rebellious, exhausted, contracted, authoritative. And I'm just reading one word out of each. I mean, we have the potential for choosing that for ourselves. But then on the next worksheet is question number 4. Who would you be without the thought? And the words that she has listed are open, loving, happy, interested, alive, positive, peaceful, strong, and relaxed. And again, rows and rows of words, that are also within us that we can choose to be flexible, appreciative, lighthearted, observant, giving, constructive, blessed, tenacious, and unassuming are just some of them. So I mean, I think I'm going to put this page out in a visible place, with all the positives, and try to remind myself that that's the peace within me. That's who I want to be. That's who I choose to be, is a person that has thoughts that are filled with positivity and love and goodness, and then where do we get that from? From our center, from the God that's within us, and it's there for us for the taking. We just need to remember that, and I don't know, sometimes I'm pretty good in the midst of a problem, and then afterwards, or before is when the iffy areas are, so I think if I have it out there in a visual way to remember, it might be helpful to me.
Well,
It's like,
Everyone's talking.
I was just going to say, it sounds like Dr. Emoto, and how the words that we choose to say aloud, we have to remember how much water our beings are made up of. And it hears both our silent conversation that we have with ourselves as well as the out loud. And, I think by putting a list out like that, you're automatically filling your mind with that thought. Even if you don't feel it at the moment, at least you see it and your senses can take it in as you say it. It's just that it reminded me of Dr. Emoto. That's all I was going to say. Linda, I'm sorry I interrupted.
oh, no problem. I was going to say, change your words, change your life, but it's change your thoughts, change your life. And as a teacher, I was thinking, wouldn't that be a great list to give to writing students, where they could describe things?
Oh, yes, that would be great.
Yeah, it would, Linda.
I'm going to give it to my
It
daughter.
really
for her
would.
class.
Yeah, like a prompt. That's a good
Right.
prompt, actually, for anybody's journal whatsoever. Any of us could use that. Yeah.
I was going to say it would be good for affirmations as well.
And it is work. It's something you have to work at, because I was just thinking with y'all talking, and have you ever, someone said say someone comes and tells you, oh, we're going on a 2-week vacation to Miami. And my first thought would be, oh, I'm so jealous, but that's not what I really mean. I really want to say, I'm so happy for you. That's beautiful. I'm so glad, and we all need recreation. But that first little thought might be, oh, why isn't it me? I'm so jealous. I deserve a vacation. So it is work. You have to keep working at it. You can't just, say, okay, I understand what she's saying, and now I know it. No, you have to keep working at it.
Got to stop thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Not
Charlie.
completely, Charlie. I'd walk into walls, but yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Here's another one. What do you mean when you say
Uh-oh,
that
he might have
you
frozen.
Mhm. No, he's okay.
Yeah,
okay?
everyone's okay.
No, I think it's it's the very end of the book. And she asked all these questions, about herself. And, how can I learn to love myself? What do you mean when you say that you are my projection? I guess she says these during in the book at different places, and she gives the answers to these questions. The world is your perception of it. Inside and out always match. They are reflections of each other. The world is the mirror image of your mind. If you experience chaos and confusion inside, your external world has to reflect that. You have to see what you believe, because you are the confused thinker looking out and seeing yourself. You are the interpreter of everything, and if you're chaotic, what you hear and see has to be chaos. So it's, and then it goes on, it says, even if Jesus and even if Buddha were standing in front of you, your world, you would hear confused word, because for confusion would be the listener. So it's like how you are, and just like if you're, people are confused or whatever, and everything's always happened to me, it's not happening to you, it's happening because of you.
Or for you.
Yeah, it's not to you, you're causing it on yourself. You got to stop thinking them bad thoughts, and you have to do the work. I never printed out them sheets, but I think I'm done with the book, but I should get some of them sheets so I can do some of the work on some of the other things, or do the work on Erica, have her,
Yeah.
I think she needs help with doing the work.
I don't think, I think I might have to disagree a little bit, Charlie, with the idea that that you cause everything to happen to you. I think what she's saying is that when these things happen, it's the way we're thinking about it that causes the anxiety, that I don't know how to, I can't.
Well, if you experience it inside, your external world will reflect that.
Yeah, but bad things happen sometimes to people who are, I don't think they're like causing it themselves necessarily. Well, I have to think about it some more. I just think
Hi,
that you
everybody.
can control your thinking so that it's not as awful as you think it is. This, I don't know. I'm explaining this badly. Gracie, did you have an explanation for me so that I can be quiet?
I want to say hello to each and every one of you. Happy New Year to all. Aunt Mary Lou, I'm going to use this platform to say thank you for the angels that you sent to us.
Yeah.
I have received them. Thank you all for being here. I feel that, and this is a great book, and I think what Auntie Jean is trying to say is that sometimes, circumstances, events come to us in life. I think that's part of this journey, is events come to us. And she's telling us that Auntie Jean is trying to say there are certain things that come to you, and they really are not your thoughts. But they come to you, and perhaps what we're being asked to is also to re-examine our thoughts towards that event, because I believe most of her journey is about within us. How are we thinking about? What are our thoughts? Our thoughts, I believe, come from or are generated by what we see, what we're experiencing, what's going on. And she keeps saying, what's in front of you? So I feel reading this book that it is really speaking to me and telling me to not forget the bigger picture, not forget that you are on a journey, not to forget that, especially those of us who are aware and know the jewels of awareness, that you are an instrument, you are a messenger. So there are certain aspects that the universe will bring to us. And perhaps, we may have had a thought because we saw something on TV or we read something. But then the universe says to us, you're the correct temperance. You are the correct piece of jewel to allow this particular ring that has been put on a finger, somebody else's finger, to be admired, to give off what it's supposed to give off. We're messengers here. And I think the masters also taught us that they went through parts of their journeys, aspects where they didn't know what was coming up. Maybe they went around the corner, they found a situation. But what they did is to say, all right, this is what's in front of me. What am I being asked to do? What is supposed to come from me, my thoughts? And there are some chapters that are very resonating, like deepening your inquiry. That's, I think, chapter 5. She says, can you find one stress-free reason to keep the thought? That these are things that we have to ask ourselves. I feel you're right, Linda, in that, and Charlie too, and Auntie Mary Lou, these are great pointers for us to kind of, and affirmations to write down, to remind us again that the journey is not bigger than us. We are traveling through. And, there are, like, what's the worst that could happen? And then there was one that she says, chapter 5, the work that you're doing through this book is traveling into the infinite mind and beginning to realize that there's nothing to fear. Perhaps that's what we have forgotten, because in our world, and her book is right on time, right on schedule, in our world, we're infiltrated with so much noise, so much visualization. And I want to ask Terry, when you went back, Terry, in South Dakota, you went to a place where there was very little visual visual aspects, or visual messages, very little chatter from the internet and all these things, and there those people were able to find their groundedness, to be able to even do questions like asking themselves, is this true? Is this not true? And I find, this is an aspect that her book is coming to teach us about what we already know. But it's because we're living in great cities. I just feel to me, she's just bringing me back to centeredness, the elements. And these are questions that we can ask ourselves when we take a few minutes now and then. I mean, does any of us have a minute to stop and think about the work that she's telling us to do, what does that thought make me feel? You have to make that time. For example, the Islam, they stop 5 times. A Muslim will pray 5 times a day. They literally stop. We have somebody who I'm working with, and he literally goes into the back room, into the storage, and goes on his knees. But he stopped. He stopped where he is. So I think this is part and parcel of her book. It's a wonderful book, and I'm so happy to be reading it and to talk with all of you. So I'll say bye.
Thank you, Gracie.
Grace Isis.
Thank you, Grace.
Beautiful words. And Gracie, the point that you're bringing out about all the chatter in our lives. Wow, so important to pay attention to, because many times we tell somebody, I'm praying for you, and we might say, God, please go to them, and then we go on with the next thought. But when you're talking about that discipline of setting a time aside where you're going to shut out all the external chatter, you're going to turn off the internet, you're going to turn off your phone, it's just you and God. And that's what I experienced out on the reservation in South Dakota. It's just me and God. And that sky is so wide open, you feel like you're right there in it. So it's so important to take that time, whether you stop 5 times a day or you stop 1 time a day, at least stop and give yourself the benefit of that connection with God, that connection in your high heart. Go right there, breathe into it. We do this every day. Y'all know how to do the heart breathing. Breathe into it and just listen. We're so used to having to talk. It's like we have to fill up that space. We can't let any silence be in there. But what about going into the silence? What about letting that silence speak to you and really listen to it and go into our heart? I heard an expression one time, the space between the thoughts. And I think that's where we need to go so many times, is allowing ourselves to just wait until you're going to the next and the next and the next and the next. Give yourself that opportunity to have that space in between the thoughts, that space where it's just you and no outside stuff filtering into you, just you and God, and just give yourself that. And when you do that, and then you do this inner work that we're being taught in this book, and you start to say, oh, that thought that came through, is that true? Is that really true? Is there a basis to it? It all starts to make sense because you've shut out for a minute everything that's going to distract you from the truth. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that answered your question, Gracie, that, the time that you can spend in nature, the time that you can spend closeted away from everything, it's going to be the most important times of your life. And I fully believe those words. Mary Lou, you raised your hand.
Thank you, Terry. Yes.
Yeah, I
So,
think that,
sorry, I'm just
you're
gonna say one
both
quick
right
thing.
on. Thank you, Grace,
Yes.
Isis, and Terry.
Yeah, I love that thought.
Go ahead, Grace.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I think also because not a lot of us can go out into the open, like in South Dakota, but it's within ourselves. Carve out that time every evening. And that's what she's telling us to do. Sit down with your journal. Ask yourself these questions, because she says, inquire sincerely and let the turnarounds find you. So you will get it. So thank you. Sorry, Mary Lou, next to you.
That's okay. I just wanted to affirm what you were both saying by the words that she wrote in one of her chapters talking about decision making. And she said, when you become a lover of what is, There are no longer decisions to make. You just let go of the when and the where and the how. And that's kind of what you were both saying, I think, is that place within us that just is. We live in what, how did she put it? A lover of what is. And so you're living in that moment. And Tara, you do that with us. I recently listened to a tape meditation that you and Ruth had done that I don't know, it's still speaking to me. Sometimes the meditations stay with us and some we're in the moment with them. And this one was just so beautiful where you both did go walk us into a desert area and there was a pyramid that was not as large as the ones in Egypt, but it was a beautiful pyramid. And you went into a place of comfort and quietness and peacefulness. And you both experienced the presence of your angels with you and all the angels. And yet it was crowded with the angels, but it felt just right to you. And, I, in my meditation along with you, that became, and it's interesting, Auntie Jean, that you talked about your sisters-in-laws and brothers' sanctuary, because it became a sanctuary and a tabernacle. I was in the tabernacle with my Jesus in that meditation, in a place of comfort and love. In our church, we have the tabernacle is surrounded by angels, the hosts of angels. And I used to bring the children around it and talk to them and say, there's myriads of angels. It was one of my favorite unusual words to teach people was myriads. And I think about, that, just like you said, Grace Isis, we can't all go to that desert place, but in our meditation, in our connection and prayer with God, we can find that place of aloneness, where we can become replenished and filled with love and joy and peace and all that we need to survive and flourish in this beautiful world that we live in. Amen.
Amen.
Jean,
My
you had a thought?
I was just going to say that my problem is I never want to come out. When you make that connection, no, really.
Right.
I know.
So, you don't want to come out. You want to just stay there. And I always, you have to shake yourself out. But I just love your saying of the space between thoughts. That just really something that resonated with me, that's what we have to do, is find those spaces between thoughts when no other influence is there. And I just love that. So yeah, I'm very glad I have this book. I wish I had bought it and I may still in the paper form, so I could see all the lovely quotes and find the nice little things and underline them like I usually do. And I'm not going to do Audible anymore. So, but you all, this family, I tell you, powerful thoughts. Just learning so much from you all. So beautiful.
As we do from you, our
Yes.
wonderful guru, mountaintop guru.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not a mountaintop guru. No, but I do love sometimes that they give me thoughts to say that I feel are from the divine. I really do. That's a blessing.
I wanted to go back to Jean's thought of why do things happen to me? And sometimes things happen that you have no control over, and it's how you react. And I'm thinking about Ruth and the fire and Jean's family and the Colorado fire. And I'm sure instantly you have a myriad of emotions, like, I've lost my home, I've lost this, why did this happen to me? And you probably go through so many thoughts. But then you have to, well, I can't say, I'm not there, but I would think you start sorting them out and kind of stick to one. And if you stick to why did this happen to me, then you're adding more drama to it. And then there's got to be some good in everything. And I think right now we're going through a crisis of people being negative and reacting in a negative way. And I had a couple suggestions to help, and so have many people, but I think that might renew people's faith in humanity, faith in their neighbor, faith in God, faith in people. And it's a terrible thing that happened, but I'm hoping some good comes from it. And some leaders step up.
You know, Terry and I were talking earlier about this, and I don't even know who said this, but some notable person said that what he loved about humanity was that when everything was at its worst, people were at their best. And that's what we're seeing happening in Colorado, is that stores and people and companies are stepping up, and they're giving free to all these people who've lost everything, and everyone's helping everybody. And that's just what that quote meant, is that now that people are in need, people are giving. And what we need to do is do that all the time, I think, you know, but we can see it, that should give us more faith, like you said, more hope. And but you know, Charlie, I didn't mean to disagree with you. I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people, like Linda said, have negative thoughts all the time. They're always thinking negative, and so their lives are negative.
Right.
Because if you're thinking that way, that's what's going to happen.
Right. That's what
that's what you were speaking of.
That's
but
what
you know, these things happen to wonderful people. Like Linda said, we've seen it happen to Ruth and Meg and wonderful people. And we just have to realize that, you know, or they realize. I know Meg does. I'm sure Ruth does too, that it's not because of anything that they've done or what's wrong with them. It's because it's life, and life happens, and we grow from it.
Everything's done for a reason.
Exactly.
God has a reason for everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything was written before we came here on this earth. You know, our life path is set. You know, and
the divine plan. And I agree.
Exactly.
You know, there was a book in I believe it was in the 70s called "Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People?" Do you all remember that book? And that I just thought about that when you were speaking, Jean. That we're here. We're going to experience contrast. We're going to experience the ups and downs and things that sometimes are very traumatic. So I think the important part is, how do we get through that to the other side? And that's what we're looking at now, is how do we help everyone who's gone through that trauma to reach that other side, to where they're not stuck in the victimhood of it happening to them, that it didn't happen to them, even though they're the ones that are suffering.
It happened for them.
That's right. And Christina has her hand raised, so let's hear what she has to say.
She does. Hi, Christina.
Oh,
I can't see her hand. Oh,
I
there
just-
it is.
I just wanted, you know, I like what Jean was saying, and you know, and that I don't think anybody here would ever say to someone, "Is that okay for you to have those feelings?" It's how you react to those feelings, because I go back to the quote that is, we are spiritual beings here for the human experience. And I honestly think that some people, not everyone, but you forget that part of being human too. It's like all that's being strived for is to have the spiritual experience, but that's not why you came here. If you just wanted the spiritual experience, you would be there full time. And so these things happen, but I think it's okay, for you to have the anger and all the emotions that come along with it. And then it's how you pick yourself back up afterwards. And we all learn as we get older and we have more of these experiences happen, that we have that knowledge within us. Well, I've done this before. It might not have been this exact same situation, but I know that I've had very difficult circumstances and I was able to come up. Now, some circumstances are humongous. This is in no way a small thing. And this is going to be in years worth of count, how this is going to affect everything. And so by no means do I want to diminish it. And there's going to be times where you're going to have to take that drink break like you do when you're running a marathon and you have to stop at one of those places and grab a drink. And those are what you do with that time. I kind of think that's kind of like what's between your thoughts are those drink spots where you stop and you take your drink and you replenish yourself, or you hurry up and you eat an energy bar or whatever it is. I don't run.
You can't even walk now.
Especially now, even if you wanted to.
Right. I mean, I've
Any of us run here.
I've had to learn how to be patient and not do things for a second. So it's been kind of backwards, but that's okay. But that's what everybody needs, that time of replenishment is what I'm getting to. And those are the times that, you can let yourself cry and then you can think through with these suggestions in this book. That's where the suggestions can come in. But go ahead and let yourself cry and have a breakdown. Some people want to scream. Some people do things like start running because they have all this pent up energy and thoughts. Yep. And I mean, there's just all different ways. There's no right way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's right ways that can make your heart, like it's what makes your heart at peace. That's the right way,
Exactly.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Christina, for those beautiful words. Well, if we're ready for another laugh before we go to Grace Isis, and then we've got to wrap this up for today. Hope is watching, and she has a message for you, Auntie Jean. Uh-oh. She says, great Auntie Jean, Zena said you made him laugh when you don't want to come back from your meditation.
It's true though, Zena, it really is.
Yeah, Jean joined me today for the meditation excavation. So if you want to check out her not wanting to come back from where we went in that meditation, okay. You can watch the replay tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern. It'll be on, or you can just go grab it and watch it at any time on YouTube. But yeah, it's one of those things, when we get into that space, we really enjoy it so much, and it's so peaceful. I think one of my blogs this week was for the angels. We're talking about that. But let's go to Gracie.
Thank you so much, and I'll wrap it up quickly. I want to thank Christina because, yes, that is exactly what we're here for. And I feel sometimes we forget that it is a human experience. However, I do feel that we have to experience and let the emotion come out, but go back into that well of support, which is the spiritual. And so she does say on page 83, she says, and I think this is what Christina is also trying to say, is that it's important to realize that inquiry is about noticing, not about dropping the thought. That is not possible. If you think that I'm asking you to drop the thought, hear this, I am not. Inquiry is not about getting rid of thoughts. It's about realizing what's true for you through awareness and unconditional self-love. Once you see the truth, the thought lets go of you and not the other way around. We have to remember we are truths. We are truths of who we are, of who our Creator has made us, given us the awareness, given us the tools to be there
Am I
also for
frozen
others.
now?
Thank you.
Think I'm frozen.
You know, as you were reading that, thank you for reading that, Gracie.
Yes, I was.
I've heard an expression before in my life, and now it makes even more total sense, that I was wrapped up in my thoughts. Do you ever say that or think that, or heard that expression? I was wrapped up in my thoughts. So when you said the thought will let you go, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. Like you're coming out of that cocoon where you were immersed in that thought. Mary Lou?
And, you know, she uses the term discover and turn around.
Yeah.
And then the one final quote that I had also written, I think is pertinent to this place that we've come to, which is wonderful. I loved our discussion today. She says, self-realization is not complete until it lives in action. So it's not just about, you know, living in the happy place. It's about, you know, experiencing life as it is in our own truth, and then taking it to others in action, bringing that sense of love and being part of a world in which we live, and taking that holiness within us and sharing it with others. Yeah.
How can we make a world that's sustainable for all of us, that we can live in? And, you know, one of my favorite people is Yogananda, who created the Self-Realization Fellowship. And he always talked about the action, the call to action, and not just sitting still, but actually doing what we're drawn to do, what we're called to do. So thank you for that. I want to say hello to Kimberly Coons, who says, hello, you amazing human beings. Love all of you. Kimberly, we love you too. And so loving our audience today that came in for some discussion and to fill into what we were talking about, even if some of you may not have the book. And I put the name and the title of the book and the author in the stream. So thank you. And thank you to everybody that came in to do the discussion. This was an amazing discussion today. I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I hope that you all did too. And I hope it leads you to a really good place in doing this work that is lined out for us in the book. And just so many interesting things we can do with this method that she's teaching us. And I love that there's the workbook part of it, the worksheets. And yeah, Charlie, I think you should print some of those out.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, it's helpful for all of us. Linda?
I wanted to say Charlie had a good idea about the quotes, but not everybody has them
Right.
on their Kindle, whatever. And we're getting ready to start a new book. So why don't we have that as a goal when we start a new book, so we don't just drop his idea?
Well, if you want, I can print, I'll type them all in,
Oh, nice.
in the group. I'll put chapter 1, and then I'll put the quote, and then I'll put chapter 2, and this way, and then you can pick. It's only for, it take me 10, 15 minutes, whatever. I know chapter 1's a long one, but the rest of them are not too long. So I'll do that, and then you can pick which one resonates with you, And this way we can all do it for next week.
Thank you,
I
Charlie.
love that. Thank you so
There
much.
you go, Charlie, creating your own worksheet for us.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
also, Jean, do you notice something here? Charlie is being of service. And that's
Yes,
one of
he
the
is.
things
You know,
that Jane
that's
has been
what-
getting a message on.
And that's, I was going to say that I can't stay in meditation as long as forever because I've been getting the message, be of service, be of service. So I have to be in the world to do that. So, yeah.
And all the
That-
call to action that our thoughts lead us to actually do something instead of sitting on the sidelines. So beautiful.
He's
I love
been
this.
asking me a lot lately, hasn't he?
Yes. Well, thank you all again for being here. We'll be back next
Yeah.
week at the same time, 1 o'clock Eastern, and we'll do some more discussion about loving what is. Thank you all. We love you. We bless you. Stay in your hearts and stay blessed. And
Namaste, y'all.
bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Zena.
Hi, Senna.
Bye,
Bye,
Senna.